Islands.
See what I said?
See what I'm saying?
See what I saying? You don't want to miss this unique, informative audience participation, light-hearted show with lots and lots of Cayman jokes, culture, and guests. As we talk about things we say and do, it happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today, jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman, a language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See What I'm Saying begins right now.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much. What a wonderful way to have a fantastic Friday. It's nothing other than the company of Wray Banker. Wray, my friend.
Stretches that every time.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that. How are you, my friend?
Not bad, sir. Surviving, child, surviving.
Well, it could be better, you know. It could be better. Somebody says about something else, you know. So,
so everybody's been listening to that ad all week, whether they liked it or not. We had a little cliffhanger. I don't know how many people got it. The little poll that I did, 99.999% of the people, actually me included until I started working at the museum, didn't know what bird that they had in their hand from 1972 we had coins.
Mm-hmm. So I did a poll to 100% of the people.
Well, I said 99.9999.
Yeah, so mine was 100%. The one person I asked thought it was a nightingale.
Well, when I was growing up, that was sort of the final thing for me. I was like, yeah, it must be a nightingale, even though the head of it, I didn't even bring one.
I got
you heard one? Yeah, because you keep picking them up, you say. that it was a nightingale, but the head of it is just slightly different. Like that.
Oh, sorry, not it. Yeah.
That's not it? You got one? Cool.
I want it back there.
Okay, so should we reveal or what should we do?
Oh, the coin. Okay.
What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the bird on the coin, the 1 cent coin, is not a ching ching. It's not a nightingale. It's not a chip chip we had. Not a big doe. It is a Grand Cayman thrush, the extinct Grand Cayman thrush. Yeah, or the old truss. And actually, that's what I would like to poll the audience with. If there's anybody alive that remembers seeing it or hearing about it, even old truss.
So our guest today.
Yes. So we have a guest today, and it's Mr.
Stuart Mailer.
Yes, and he's from the National Trust, and he's here to help us with the bird.
Oh, just
the one with the feathers.
Just a correction. I'm not actually with the trust anymore.
Oh, okay.
But they did put you in contact with me.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so
for a fee.
That's a little update. That's good to know. All right. So where should we go? Okay. I want to talk about the coin first a little bit. Yeah, before we get into Mr. Mailer. So first released in the 1st of May, 1972. So it was because we had to change it because we were using Jamaican currency, Jamaican pound at the time. And we became detached from Jamaica in 1959 after they became independent, right? So, but we still used the pound up until 1969. And then the Jamaican dollar from 69 to 72. And then we decided we needed a separate currency. We need our own money. So 1st of May, 1972, the Cayman Islands had its own currency. So that's why we have our own coins. And now a little thing about the 1 cent that I never or sort of overlooked. Actually, I don't see it here on this one. But if you look at it closely, you might see.
Oh, you wanted an official one? I just picked
SD. I don't see it on this one.
No.
This is a 2008. Okay. Yeah. You should see a SD somewhere on the bird, by the bird, and that stands for Stuart Devlin, not Mr. Stuart here, but Stuart Devlin, the Australian coin designer. I didn't even know there was such a thing, but so he's actually a famous coin designer. I kind of looked him up, and the ones in 1972 have a different queen on it. So after 2002, they updated it to like the more age-appropriate The other one were looking a little bit too young and not realistic, I guess. So after 2002, they changed the queen and kind of made her a little different. And there's from 79 to 80, there should, if you've got one of those, it has a FM on it, and that's stands for Franklin Mint. So hope you're getting educated today about the coin. So all those people asking what bird, when the tourists ask what bird it is, and you say the nightingale or the ching ching, it's actually Grand Cayman thrush, and that's the actual name for it, right?
Yes, that's the official English name for it. Of course, the Caymanian name, Old Truss, is
is one of them names. Okay, let me see. A little math there, Dwayne. Over 4,026,441 examples of the coin have been minted so far, according to what I had looked at. How much money that is?
So you take the bottom piece and move it back.
Okay, we'll get back to you.
No, take it off, move it back 2 decimal points.
Okay, how much that is?
So, try it now.
No, you do it. Okay,
put your finger over the last digits.
Anyway, so the first one was composed as a bronze alloy, and it's now copper. So, and also, just if you're interested, you can purchase some of them on eBay for $1. No, he's still doing it, but I figure those people are too busy trying to get that land from that Ronald Martin. So
Stop it.
I apologize to my West Point family. Right?
Yeah.
That's a West Bay joke. Anyway, so Mr. Mailer, so tell us about the Grand Cayman thrush.
Well, sad to say, it is no longer with us.
Yes.
It's a bird that was first described in the 19th century scientifically, and was quite abundant at that time. It was very special because it was what's termed an endemic species, meaning that it was unique at the species level, found nowhere else in the world other than Grand Cayman, not just the Cayman Islands, but Grand Cayman.
That's important. You said Cayman Islands because it is, or a version of it is still found on the BRAC, or is still?
There is a closely related bird on the BRAC. They are the same genus, but they are very different birds. It's a separate species. The red-legged thrush on Cayman BRAC and the Grand Cayman thrush. Red-legged thrush, thankfully, is still very much with us, but the Grand Cayman thrush is no more.
Okay.
And Ray, I'll share with you in a bit if I see if I can get one of our listeners sent in a photo of the one in the BRAC that was taken in 2014. I'll get it on the screen later if we can.
So this is their own personal photo?
This is a photo from 2014.
Like I said, I forget what year it was, maybe 2007 or something like that. I went over to BRAC and I was surprised to see it over there. 2007? No, must be closer to that.
Yeah.
Before that, because like I said, not until 2009 that I started working in the museum that I realized that what the bird was. Mm-hmm. We have a little display there. If you want to come in a natural history gallery, we have a display there about it. And so what made it different? What made our Grand Cayman thrush different than the other thrushes?
Well, as compared to the thrush on the BRAC, which is known as the red-legged thrush, well, they do both have red legs, and they are basically grayish, sort of slaty colored on the main body. But the bird on the BRAC has a white chin, and he's also white on the just on the underside of the tail, but his chest is grey, whereas the Grand Cayman thrush had a white belly. The other distinguishing feature, very easy to see if you see one of the BRAC thrushes flying, you pick up these white in the tail feathers, very distinct, and they're called spots. It's the underside of the tail, but you do sort of seeing them going around in circles when you see the red-legged thrush in flight. No, I can't say what you see when a Grand Cayman thrush flies, because as though I know I'm older than you guys, but I have never seen one of these birds.
Wow. And when can we say was the last time officially Well, when do you think? Because I know when supposedly the official date for it or last sighting for it, but when do you think it disappeared exactly?
Well, it's difficult to say. When the Oxford expedition was here back in the 30s, I think we had 38 is the last official sighting. But other people went searching for it, and most extensively, I think in 1965, 66, and 67, an ornithologist went out to search diligently without success, and eventually concluded that the bird must be actually extinct. Now, I could add to that one of the people who was instrumental in taking visiting naturalists to go and see the birds, and sadly to shoot some of them, that's a gentleman by the name of Bunyan Whittaker.
Okay.
Now, he says he never saw any after the 32 hurricane. So officially the range is somewhere between 38 and 60, what did I say, 67.
Okay.
But it's very plausible that the last few remaining died out during the 32 storm. Hurricane Ivan we had in recent years, I'm sure people knew how devastating it was. It was also very devastating to the bird life, not just by being killed by the hurricane itself, but maybe more importantly, wiping out food sources.
The habitat.
And if the bird was already under pressure, numbers have been declining for many, many years, that very likely was the last straw.
And something that I say when I'm doing a tour in the Natural History Gallery is that just by virtue of our the square footage of our of islands, most of our endemic species are considered endangered or threatened anyway.
They're certainly threatened largely because they're so range limited. So just to give you a Cayman example of this, now I think many Caymanians know that the black parrot is restricted to Cayman brack. Occasionally they fly over to Little Cayman, but not many years ago they were living and breeding on the brack until they were locally made extinct, extirpated is the word, by a hurricane. And that's very likely on a small island, like particularly the sister islands, but even a bigger island like Cayman, if you have a bad enough storm and you're dealing with a particular species that's only found on that island, you could lose the whole species in one event. Take a big island like Cuba, they have a bad hurricane, but it's actually only bad for maybe 20 miles in circumference.
But that might be the area
it's a track. They lose the bird, but the birds in surrounding areas repopulate fairly quickly.
And I know Puerto Rico has a trouble with their national, I think it's their national bird too, their parrot too, isn't it? And there's storms that did
They've certainly had lots of problems with their parrot, partially hurricane, but I'm sure very much due to their human pressures as well, destruction of habitat.
Yeah. And I think Patricia Bradley, I asked why did our bird become extinct? Or one of the reasons was she was saying because small island species, they specialized for this little small area, maybe this small habitat, and then when, like you said, when hurricanes and stuff come along, they're particularly vulnerable. So that's what she says is one of the main reasons for. And is it maybe the bird too? Is it not so aggressive, or doesn't their offspring that maybe they don't have a lot of offspring? Is that part of it too?
Well, I don't really know, but I would draw a comparison to the red-legged thrush on the brack, which Patricia Bradley makes a point in one of her books that they are harassed and basically bullied by the northern mockingbirds. And although northern mockingbirds are
what we call nightingales.
Nightingales, yes. Most of the world calls them northern mockingbirds.
But that's rustlers and the rest of us.
But I think the Jamaican and then Caymanian named nightingale probably came about after naming a European bird that's known for singing at night. And they do sing at least very, very early in the morning.
I never thought that, yeah.
So back to this bird being harassed by the northern mockingbird. Northern mockingbirds are comparatively recently spreading their range into the West Indies and further afield. So it is probably a case of a bird that evolved here, well, in the region being pressured by a bird that started outside the region.
So you could sort of say it's the nightingale is kind of invasive then?
I kind of see it that way. I feel that they expanded their range as the Caribbean became developed. I mentioned in our discussion earlier, Ray, that I have never seen a northern mockingbird, a nightingale, in the middle of the mastic forest. That's not their habitat. They hang around human disturbed areas. They love to sit on the CUC wires and then dive across the road and catch easy prey, butterflies in the middle of the wide open road. I think they have evolved into a human-created habitat and have spread their range and been very successful accordingly.
Kind of like when we did the mosquito show, they had the Egyptes mosquito that were bred basically by around humans. So that's interesting. It's got birds the same way. I know that they go after the crickets when we go flying crickets. We could fish for nightingales that way. Probably not a good thing for us to say, a bird thing.
All right, you want to take that break first?
We're taking a break? Okay.
Yeah. All right, not for long. I mean, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, we got to get some lunch.
All right. Join us right after the break, please.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vant Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
How would you describe Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Wha Ah Sayin?
Let me see.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, you almost got caught.
Wouldn't be the first time. Would not be the first time. Might be the last two, though. Mr. Ray Banker.
Yes, so we're here talking about the old trusts. And again, if any of the public listening and that they're familiar with that name, familiar with the bird, if you could give us a call in and let us know.
Okay. So join us is Mr. Stuart Mailer as well, sort of a resident ornithologist, maybe?
I wouldn't call myself an ornithologist, but I'm a birder, and I'm a bird guide.
That's my friend said, bird.
What? Right?
Anyway,
so we got to call him?
Go to call?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone and say good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, man? How are you today?
Okay, Reto.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, and the other gentleman there is a doctor.
You can't hear? Hold on, can't hear you.
The other gentleman there, he's a doctor. Or?
No, he just wants to be called a birder. Cayman birder, I think.
Okay.
He's the official bird expert on this show, definitely.
Oh, just only birds.
Yes.
No, because what happened is, I was wondering if he knew exactly what happened to the black and white queen butterflies that we used to have a lot around here.
Oh, the butterflies? Maybe he knows a little bit about that.
I'm not actually picturing the butterfly that you're referring to. I have maybe after the show, if you'd need contact information, I have somebody I could put you in contact with that's expert on butterflies.
Yeah, and that'll be a small fee. Don't worry about that. but if you want to leave the number,
is it the ones that are black, white, and has some yellow on it?
The black and yellow ones, man. They call them queen butterflies. I noticed after Hurricane Ivan, we never had too much left. I don't know.
Okay,
that had a big part to do with it, you know. Yeah, so I was just wondering what happened to them because I remember we used to have a lot of them around here. I don't know if they have them in East End, but I don't see any in West Bay.
That's true. You don't see as much. Well, I can't remember last time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, man.
Thanks
and
for that
this is the interest
observation.
in our, in nature. We sort of take for granted, you know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's one of the things. You have this this coin in your hand. You don't know what bird it is. That's one of the things that vexes me about the Cayman. Just everything. I mean, there's things here. There's treasure here that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
That we don't observe.
We lose it and they didn't know we had it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So let's get back on track now. But could you give us you described a little bit. I think the bird. Can you get into it a little bit more? I think is it just. I guess
so
description.
we're talking about the
Grand Cayman.
The Grand Cayman.
Yes.
Well, as I said, I've never actually seen one.
Yes. But there are some physically
there are
specimens left.
To my reckoning, I've counted up 25 records scattered in museums, most of them in the United States, but at least one in Germany and one in the United Kingdom. So they are there to go and have a look at, but I have not had the opportunity. There's a very good illustration of a Grand Cayman thrush. It's a painting, but based, I'm sure, on one of the specimens in the Cayman Photographic Guide to the Birds of the Cayman Islands by Patricia Bradley. And
so is it any close to the one we have on the screen?
The one, yes, that is actually, I don't think it's the same, it's not the same painting or illustration, but it's maybe a bit more lifelike, and it's in a woodland setting and shows a picture of the bird, what it would look like in flight as well as sitting.
Okay.
But as you notice, for those of mostly residents of the Brac, I think, who are very familiar with their bird, they would know that it has a white under the chin and very distinct white spots in the tail when it's flying, and also a white belly.
So would you say the behavior is similar?
Well, again, I haven't seen it.
From what you remember as a child.
Okay, so aside from these two thrushes we've discussed up to this point, the Grand Cayman thrush and the red-legged thrush, we do have in Grand Cayman and the Brac other thrushes that pass through in migration. Birds that live in North America, breed in North America, and then migrate down to South America, sometimes to the Caribbean islands. And they're here briefly. They're called passage migrants because they're passing through. And all the birders, the keen birders, and a few naturalists in Cayman would have seen these birds. But your average person just going about their business is probably very unlikely to have noticed them. They're a bit secretive. They tend to be under bushes and skulking around. But
So
there's
some
several
were
different
birds?
species. We're talking about various species of thrushes.
Not lawyers or anything.
And because they're kind of secretive and usually fairly dull-colored, people don't really notice them. But they are there, and they do tend to share feeding behaviors and foraging behaviors. So I don't really know what the Grand Cayman thrush ate, but I do know what sort of food the red-legged thrush and the brack eats. They're basically omnivores. They eat insects, spiders, worms in all likelihood, snails, but they also eat fruit. And so, and a lot
I've seen a picture of one eating like a berry and things like that. I can't remember. Does the nightingale
from
nightingale do that also?
They do indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if you had just joining us, we think it's similar to our nightingale or the mockingbird. Would you say? Kind of.
Well, they're not too distantly related. They're different families of birds, but they are next to each other in the bird book, which is normally an indication that they're evolved from a common ancestor at some point.
Okay. What else I was going to ask you? I did ask you what feed. Where on Grand Cayman did our bird live, our Grand Cayman thrush?
Well, again, it was fairly widespread in the sense it was found mostly on cliff rock forest, in the limestone forest, but also in the mangrove forest.
Okay, and we talked about the 38 was the last sort of, and you think that was the Grand Cayman thrush that they saw? Because you were saying the 30s, they thought it was after the 32 storm. You think it might have been officially gone. So the 38 one.
Well,
I know you weren't
there was one gentleman said that he had never seen it, but if there's a discrepancy there, who knows?
Mm-hmm. And then I made a note that there was after the 32 storm, there was a bad 1944 storm. So if the 32 storm didn't finish it off, probably the 44 one did. Because it talked about, let me see where it says here. Let me find it for you. Had Mr. Parsons, and it made a note of it. Conditions were, let me see. Winds reached 116 miles an hour, but it was that way for about 3 days. They were under her, so basically almost like a Ivan. So it said, Mr. Parsons, the clerk of the Grand Court at the time, said, it was the severest storm since 1876. So that was, and it said it destroyed a lot of crops. Rainfall was very heavy. Prospect and Red Bay were flooded. Heavy seas destroyed shorelines and stuff like that. So that was 44 was a bad storm also for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just a point I'd like to make. It's much more satisfying and conclusive when you do make up a record of something, like going looking for a bird, and if you see it, and these days if you photograph it, then you know it was there. But just because you go looking for it and don't see it doesn't mean it wasn't there. You just didn't find it.
Right.
And if they were way out in the mangrove forest or very, very reduced numbers, it's certainly possible to miss them.
Sure.
Having said that, this bird, thrushes in general, are generally very vocal. They have distinctive calls and songs, and even if you didn't see the bird, if you were familiar enough with the bird to recognize it, it seems unlikely that they wouldn't have at least heard the call if they went extensively searching.
Saying that, Miss Susan, could we do audio?
So this is Ray's attempt at imitating the bird? Is that what it is?
Now, we got a little bit of audio of a red-legged thrush. So I took the liberty of thinking at least it's similar, would be similar to this. Now, this I think is recorded either in Cuba or Puerto Rico, so it might be in Spanish, so you might not understand it.
I was wondering what it was.
Yeah, that sounds red-legged thrush.
Yeah.
Incidentally, just like the nightingales, the northern mockingbirds, these thrushes are known for imitating things.
Yeah.
Other birds, but also cell phones.
Yeah, I've heard
Car
dogs
alarms and so
chickens
forth.
and all that stuff. Yeah. So this is audio. Like I said, what we think is close to the Grand Cayman. Would you say?
I would think that it's a very good chance that it would be recognizable to a bird as a thrush when they're here.
So this has been missing from Cayman's sounds for about 80 years. Is that or 30 years?
I guess where you draw the line, but it's 83 years if we take C.B. Lewis's record in as accurate.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you, Ray. I don't know some days.
So if you have heard this, call us right away.
So that was the thing I guess you wanted to find out. Anybody alive who may have...
Yeah, again, poll in the audience. Anybody heard of the name or heard anybody mention Old Truss? Right? Old Truss or the bird. We've got somebody that did send us a photo of the red-legged thrush. Or I think it's that. I don't know if you shared that with Mr.
Yeah,
Miller.
I'll show it. And,
but so, yes, so the last, we talked about where it wasn't widespread. The habitat or the range for it on Grand Cayman wasn't necessarily widespread. It was more cliff rock, you said, and mangrove.
Well, I think before humans inhabited the island in great numbers, I suspect it would have been pretty widespread indeed. If it would be living in mangroves or in dry forest, well, that would pretty much describe most of the island. Right. And it's just as the trees were cut for logging, it would have been restricting that habitat more and more and more, and driving them, as has happened to so many of the modern day birds that's still with us there. Right. They tend to be retreating into to the eastern end of the island.
Okay. But someone really just messaged in and said, just for FYI, did see a Quaker, a parrot, or in Frank Sound.
A what?
Quaker, yeah. I saw Quaker parrots here in Frank Sound.
Quaker parrots, I don't know. I'll have to refer to
I have Quaker oats, but
I'm wondering if they're referring to monk parakeets.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the name Quaker.
Okay.
Those might be like released or escaped from the pet thing, or those
any parrot that you see on Grand Cayman that is not a Grand Cayman parrot is going to have started out as a pet. In my belief, we have a population of monk parakeets, most well known in the tall coconut trees in front of Sunset House, but they have spread in colonies all around the island.
There's some in, I can tell you, there's some in West Bay, Conch Point also.
There's also a few yellow nape parrots, I think, and they started out as pets, and they are to some extent breeding, but they don't seem to have any significant numbers except for the monk parakeets.
Well, I can tell you there's significant noise because we had some in a coconut tree up on Hell Road. Oh my God! That was hell. That was hell in the morning. Yeah. Okay, so the last sighting. When was that again? Hold on. Battle Hill and Vinters Land. That's from memory. Hold on. That's my notes. All
right. So what we'll do...
Just because I'm looking at that, we're going to take a break? Oh, okay.
So the last record of the Grand Cayman...
Yes.
I have that down as Furtherland Farm.
Okay. Yes.
Which I think is the old prison farm up in the back of the quarry.
Okay, so when I look at my notes, I got to find out and I got to tell him what I know about, what I think I know about.
What do you know?
We're going to take a break?
All right, let's do that. When you come back,
please
join Ray.
Get me out of this.
And our guest, Stuart Mailer. Please, stay tuned.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands. If traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
What do you do if you have to go to a shelter? To help you safely prepare, evacuate, and shelter while protecting yourself and others from COVID-19 this hurricane season, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. If you must go to a shelter, be ready to protect yourself and others. Practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. Follow public health's preventative actions. Wash your hands with soap and water, often if possible, or use hand sanitizer, cover coughs and sneezes, and wear mask or cloth face coverings. Get your COVID-19 vaccine when eligible. Avoid sharing food and drink with anyone. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And it's Ray Banker's special. You guys are diligent.
Well, Ray Banker special? This is not your show, neither?
No, I thought about for lunch.
Oh.
So we ordered that after. But Stuart Miller joins us, and the lessons of history and perhaps the lessons of the human population's impact on the environment sometimes is lost, as is the Grand Cayman Truss. Thrush. The old truss.
Thrush. Old truss.
All right. So,
what's the other name? Turdus plumbus? Plumbus. And you were going to try to pronounce the other name? There was another name for it also.
I don't recall saying I was going to try that. Well, I'll give it a shot. Mimochicla. I'm not sure if that central C is hard or soft. Mimocicla or Mimochicla perhaps, but I don't really know.
Ravidu.
Okay,
Yeah.
stop it.
That's
All
close. And then the other, this is the words now. So, I had it before. Help me out with that other word. It means appearing to be active, twilight, or night.
Oh, crepuscular.
Thank you.
I didn't even figure out what you were trying to say.
So, see, that's how hard it is to get spell check with me. Like, how do you do spell check? People ask me, or when I used to ask people how to spell something, they say, you look in the dictionary. Well, suppose you get the first letter wrong.
There you go, right?
You have a long day.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Okay, get back to the bird now. Okay, so we talked about why it was vulnerable to extinction, basically because of the small island and being adapted to these little small islands and these little small ranges. But yeah, the question I had, do you think collecting the specimens, because you talked about 1886, 1886 was sort of the first time it was mentioned, that I have anyway.
I believe that's correct, yes.
And that's where this guy Corey or something, they collected a whole bunch and said they were in abundance then. And I have to say, like, I think it seems like round about the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, there seems to be a lot of these sort of rich, sort of amateur naturalists sort of yachting around and in the Caribbean or different islands or places looking for, that's my opinion of looking for different species and I guess almost a race to identify.
I think there was an element of that, but I'm not sure I would blame it all on the amateur naturalists because certainly some of these people were in it for the reward.
Okay.
And I think the gentleman who ended up shooting 13, the last large collection in, what was it?
Is that Brown?
Yes, Mr. Wilmot Brown, I believe. In 1911, by that point, the birds were, he recognized they were becoming extremely rare. He thought they were only
but he'll take about 13 of them.
Well, he shot 13 and basically made in his defense that he had left enough to help the continuation of the species, unless he qualified it is already in decline and going extinct for natural causes.
So he said that after he shot them. And mine, he shot like juveniles too, right? And that wasn't just adults.
I believe he did, yes. So those birds are, he shot 13. We know where 11 of those are in museums in North America. But no doubt it was pressure on the species. I don't think it would have been nearly as important to the species going extinct when they were abundant everywhere, but they did seem to have gone into some sort of natural decline for reasons that I don't know that we really fully understand.
Mm-hmm. So that was 1916 I have here, Brown, the largest collection.
Oh, I have 2 areas in 1911, but I wasn't around to verify the
And they're like all over the place now. They're not, like you said, in a lot of museums. So try to go back to my question. It was like one of these far-fetched or what if sort of question. Do you think because of all the species that we have, or sort of samples of specimens left in the collections of the Grand Cayman thrush, do you think it's possible to extract DNA? Like they talked about the
mammoth?
Yeah, the mammoth and all that.
I did see this story in the newspaper, but I am no more an expert in that field than yourself, Ray. I question...
How you know my expertise?
I would question whether, when you do that, whether you could consider that you really have recreated the species.
Yeah.
And I think there's ethical questions and there's money, big money.
Yeah, but we're from West Bay, so all of them questions don't matter.
Be so much more to the point to preserve the species from going extinct in the first place, and I would imagine a whole lot cheaper to preserve enough areas of habitat for them to survive.
You don't know that, no? DNA sampling and stuff is cheap now. They have this little thing called what's it called? What's it called? Hold on. It is not the splicer.
The CRISPR, you mean?
CRISPR. How you know about the CRISPR? See, sometimes he surprises me, you know. So it's like a home. CRISPR is like a homemade DNA, for example. How you know about that?
A little learning is a dangerous thing.
Trying to get taller, you know. That's what he's doing. So anyway, what? Anything else we should know about the Grand Cayman thrush?
Well, I guess what I would really want to drive the point home is you really never know what you've lost until it's gone. That was...
Are we talking about relationships or birds?
I told ex-girlfriend that way.
In this case, I'm talking about birds. You take it as you like it.
Well, we talking about birds too, but...
So, what I'm saying is this bird was the only full endemic species of bird in the Cayman Islands.
Not the parrot.
It's an endemic subspecies. We have birds that are of interest to visiting birders, but not to the extent that a full species. A full species is a tourist draw for birding, for naturalists, and we've lost that.
So you're saying I could get a tourist just with the 1 cent? I could bring tourists with one?
Well, maybe you'd do better off trying to sell your coins on eBay.
That's not a bad thing.
All right.
You get $1, I tell you. $1.50 for 4.
Another news break, Mr. Ray.
Another news break. Okay. Yeah. We're coming back.
All right. So we're going to take that break. And don't miss the point Mr. Mailer just left. It's the only endemic species. Maybe we'll ask about that and the importance of preservation. But let's stay tuned and join us after.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Those wishing to be tested for COVID-19 can attend the testing clinic at the Cayman Islands Hospital Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. You are encouraged to book appointments online by visiting hsa.ky. However, walk-ins are welcome. Government-issued ID and face masks are required for testing. Signage on the hospital campus will direct patients to the clinic. In international news, despite all the promises to take action, the world is still on course to heat up to dangerous levels. United Nations experts have studied the climate plans of more than 100 countries and concluded that we're heading in the wrong direction. Scientists recently confirmed that to avoid the worst impacts of hotter conditions, global carbon emissions needed to be cut by 45% by 2030. But this new analysis shows that those emissions are set to rise by 16% during that period. The U.S. and U.K. are facing growing international criticism over a new security pact signed with Australia. The deal, seen as an effort to counter China, will see the U.S. and U.K. give Australia the technology to build nuclear-powered submarines. But the move angered France, which said it had been, quote, stabbed in the back, while China accused the three powers of having a, quote, Cold War mentality. The pact has raised fears that it could provoke China into a war. Georgian chess icon Nona Gaprindashvili has filed a defamation lawsuit against Netflix, saying she was incorrectly portrayed in the hit series The Queen's Gambit. The case refers to a sequence in the drama's final episode which says she had never played competitive chess with men. The document says that by 1968, the year in which the episode is set, she had faced at least 59 male players. Netflix said the claim had no merit. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And the phone lines are open now as we talk about the Grand Cayman. How you say it, Ray?
Grand Cayman thrush, like thrush mouth, isn't it?
Thrush. So if I say thrush, don't work?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would have to defer to Mr. Bird Expert.
Okay, so that's Stuart Mailer who joins us.
I found it. Okay, this is where we're looking for the other, the last break, before last break. Okay, this is Bernard Lewis, who led a party in naturalists. Okay, from his letter. He included this Johnson here, David Johnson, who visited in 1965. Okay, when I first visited Grand Cayman in 1938, my bird observations were rather incidental. I was working primarily on the little-known faunas of reptile, insects, and land mollusks. The thrush was hard to find and not well known to the local people. The one specimen I distinctly recall seeing was in the interior of the eastern end of the island along the edge of a cultivation between Battle Hill and Winter's Land. So that's for the land farm?
From my information, no. I know where Vintner's Well is.
Yeah.
And that's
East End.
Yeah, well, both where I was saying the Furtherland Farm it's sort of to the behind and to the west of the old quarry.
Yeah, I think that from this map that he included there, that's around about.
So just where Vintner's Well is, that's kind of the opposite side. That loop road around the back of East End. The Vintner's Well is on the east side of that loop, and the Furtherland Farm is on the west side of the loop, the northwest and northeast corners.
But it sounds like up that way.
Up that way.
Yeah. Far
the range. Okay, what else would we go?
And well, Ray, as you go in, maybe at some point, Mr. Miller, if I could ask of you, here we are, whether it was in the 30s or whether it was in the 60s, the fact is that more than likely, with almost 100% certainty, it's gone.
Almost 100%. I used to think that maybe I'd one day hear one in the forest, but learning more about the bird and becoming more familiar with how vocal they are, I think you'd expect to hear one long before you ever would expect to see one.
Yeah, kind of like some people you hear them before you see them.
And I know there are lots of areas of the the remote parts of the island where not too many people go. But who does go are a lot of them are hunters and bird hunters and bird hunters. I'm not totally in favor of hunting birds, but they do tend to know their birds. They tend to be very, very familiar with all the birds, not just the target species.
As a sort of sub-question, how prevalent is that practice of hunting birds in the Cayman Islands, to your estimation?
I can only tell you from for over 10 years I was doing tours of the Mastic Trail, and when I started, I used to hear gunshots frequently, several times a week. I've been, had shot coming down.
That could be a family dinner, though.
It could be, but I've noticed over the last 4 or 5 years, I hardly hear a gunshot. I just think it's pretty much died out. There's still farmers shooting agouti, but around the Mastic Reserve, of course, the reserve itself it would be illegal, but they're joining private land, and I just haven't been hearing it.
So that's goodish. Okay. So can I go through like the different things? So we had Charles Corey. In 1886 was the sort of the first time it was mentioned, and then that's where that name that we can't pronounce comes from. That Minichola Chilalo Radu one. That's where that came from. Oh, that's the first time I come across it. And then we had 1892. We had a DJ Sweeting, another collective.
The DJ.
Huh? You know? That sounds like there's something today, huh? Okay, came to Cayman. Like I said, there was all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7,
7, 8,
9.
That's like from the 1886 to 1965. So all of those. Is there a lot of bird or people doing scientific research here for animals and stuff that we don't know about, we don't hear about a lot about? Like they come in and do research, but don't get publicized?
Well, I think what was happening back then is very different than what is happening now. If a visiting scientist wants to come to Cayman Islands to do collecting, they basically have to get a permit from the Department of Environment, and there's conditions attached, and they're required to leave samples of specimens on island and so forth. It's a whole different ball game than it was back when those collections were going on.
But I'm saying, is it that desire still there?
Definitely, there's a desire still there.
Okay.
It's a frequent occurrence for scientists to come down to do scientific work on Caymanian animals, be it birds or invertebrates or whatever.
Or people.
Said animals. But something that was enlightening to me when we did a bird show at the National Museum was that the location of Cayman Islands, we're like maybe the last landmass before North America or after North America, or the first, depending on where you look in that sort of stream coming out of the Caribbean thing. So we're strategically placed for a lot of bird sightings. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, I would say so. I think Patricia Bradley in her book describes Cayman as being a sort of migration crossroads, and I think that's the phrase she uses. And yes, we do. There's an argument for saying that any bird that migrates from North America to South America potentially could end up being seen in the Cayman Islands. And with changing winds and weather patterns and climate changes, since I started birding about 12 years ago, I have been party to a number of first ever sightings, birds that have never ever been recorded in Cayman before. And there's a number of factors, number of people who are looking, the advent of everybody's got a camera now on their cell phone, but also high quality digital cameras, because in order to get officially make a record, you can't just say you saw something, particularly if it's something you're not familiar with. You have to have a witness or a good photographic record. And yes, we've had quite a number of those in recent years.
Well, I got my daughter, I wouldn't say sighting one when she was like about 6. I found her in the front yard. familiarizing herself with this bird, with her stuffed animal. Some black and white. Was it a Oreo? I can't remember. I did a little research on it, and it was, I think it was after bad weather or something. So it was a tired one, but took it from her. Took a picture of it. I could show it to you later on, and it survived. Well, I left it. I did the correct thing. I think I left it, and it recovered, and it flew off. I think. Yes. It wasn't there when I when I went and checked again. And we didn't have any dogs at the time, so.
Well, it's a very good chance it was just exhausted. These birds fly thousands and thousands of miles, sometimes non-stop. And when they get to land, like Cayman, you often see them, they're down in the grass. They're so exhausted they don't even perch. They're just lying and regain strength. And eventually they'll start to eat and recover. And a few days later, they move on. We get winter visitors that stay for months from North America, but we also get lots of birds that are just stopping over because of bad weather or because they're exhausted, just to stock up and then move on.
Now, to get back to this, the red-legged thrush that's on Cayman Brac, I wasn't super clear. They are resident birds. They are native birds. There's a population of them over there.
Correct. The red-legged thrush is an endemic subspecies, meaning as a subspecies, a variety, it is only found on Cayman Brac. Now that species, a little bit different in the various locations, also occurs in Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the northern Bahamas, and oddly enough, Dominica, which is way out in the Eastern Caribbean.
But you said not in Jamaica, huh?
Not in Jamaica. No, we do have other birds that have ranges in the Northwest Caribbean, as most of these examples are central to Northwest. But, for instance, our ching-ching, I think it's probably the most disrespected bird in the Cayman Islands. And yet, Cayman Islands, I should say, have the honor of having 2 out of 6 subspecies. There's ching-chings, or as they call them in Jamaica, cling-clings, but same Greater Antillean grackle. So Jamaica has a subspecies, Cuba has a subspecies, Puerto Rico has one, and Hispaniola has one. And then Cayman has two, one in Grand Cayman and one in Little Cayman. And oddly enough, there are no ching-chings on the Brac, even though you can see one island from the other.
and the two, the two.
Now they were in the Brac. They were almost certainly, yes. I don't honestly recall with the grackle, but the opposite is true with the parrot, which, as you know, there's a Brac parrot, and they do occasionally forage on Little Cayman. I've never seen them, but they used to breed on Little Cayman as well, and they were extirpated, or made locally extinct by a hurricane. And they will probably, 100 years from now, or more or less, they will likely repopulate the island if there's still good habitat available for them to do so. But I should, moving on to saying a little bit more about the Brac parrot. It really is under extreme pressure from development, fragmentation of the forest, and perhaps even more importantly, on Grand Cayman, I'm sure you have seen our parrots making nests in royal palms. And there's lots of royal palms, but there aren't any on Cayman Brac. So that's a nesting habitat that doesn't exist. And what they use instead, or used to use as well, are nests in old cedar trees, big old hollow cedar trees, which used to be abundant on the Brac.
So if the lack of cedar trees...
Well, it's worse than the lack of cedar trees. The cedar trees apparently have got...
Something went wrong. Please try again.
If you want me to shut up, please just tell me.
No. Hey.
We're trying to figure out what else.
The phone is sitting down and nobody touching it. You saw that?
That was you?
Allow me to continue. So the cedar trees on Cayman Brac have been infested with an insect that is causing them not to die, but to lose their crowns. And so rather than growing as one big tall tree that will eventually have a nice big old hollow trunk that the parrots can nest in, they turn into more like bushes. And they will never have a nice big solid trunk. So I can see for just that reason, if we don't intervene and provide the parrots with artificial nesting sites or find a way to overcome this problem with the cedars, that eventually they'll run out of natural nesting sites.
Because they haven't adapted to anything else.
Yeah, they haven't adapted. But that brings up a very interesting point. Our parrot, again, it's a subspecies on Grand Cayman, a different subspecies on Cayman brack. There's also subspecies in Cuba and a subspecies in the southern Bahamas. And this is my point now. They've had such problems over centuries with big hurricanes. They no longer nest in hollow trees. They have adapted to living in holes in the rocks. And so in that instance, their parrot is continuing to survive without the natural...
That's where, here or Bahamas?
No, that's in the southern Bahamas.
The other thing I heard was, I don't if you could confirm that, the parrots actually can't, the ones that you said here that have their nests in the royal palms, they don't actually dig those holes themselves?
No, they can't make a hole. They normally reuse a woodpecker hole. But they also use the tops. So Hurricane Ivan blew the tops out of a lot of the royal palms, but left the tree actually standing. And the parrots can burrow down, because inside the royal palm is a bit like the coir you used to make mattresses out of. It's very fibrous, and the parrot can dig his way down and make a vertical nest. Now, it's open to the rain at the top, but it's also very, very well drained. So when it rains, water might fall on the eggs or the baby birds, but it just drains on down. And it's really tall, that if the palm tree is very secure, safe from predators, sadly not from human predators who are in the habit of cutting down the royal palms and stealing the baby birds.
And so the Grand Cayman one is kind of dependent partly dependent on the woodpecker.
I would say partly, yes. But as I say, if there'd been a big hurricane, Hurricane Ivan, and destroyed a whole bunch of those hollow trees that the parrots were nesting in the black mangroves in particular, but it created new nest sites in the form of topless royal palms.
Yeah, we got a break to take. That's probably a good place to go. When we come back, join us. Maybe they'll be giving injections over there next.
My God.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Avernale Zini Foster Scott, 1915 to 2001. Miss Zini was born on Cayman Brack to Captain Bertie and Huldah Foster, the eldest of 7 children. From a young age, she helped her parents rear her younger siblings. In 1933, she married Captain Clyde Scott. Together, Miss Zini and Captain Clyde, along with their 9 children, raised cattle and crops, exported coconuts and thatch rope, owned and operated a general store, gasoline pump, and soft drink bottling plant, and were pioneers in the heavy equipment business, having established Scott Development Company in 1964. Although she had only a primary education, her natural leadership, business acumen, integrity, honesty, and ambition made her one of Cayman Brack's most successful women. Miss Zina worked in her office and until her early 80s and continued to sign the company's checks until a few weeks before her death. She was recognized by the Cayman Islands Real Estate Brokers Association in 1995 and received the Distinguished Woman Award from the Minister of Women's Affairs in 1999. Shortly before her death, she was awarded the Certificate and Badge of Honor.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brack and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Bro,
Do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us in the studio. Ray Banker, some of the See Wha Ah Sayin show, the Grand Cayman Thrush.
It's the bird that's on the 1 cent, if you're just joining us.
Stuart Mailer joins us as to, providing some insight, intellect, and some guidance. Stuart, because I don't know. But, well, before I ask the question about the different birds, Ray, you were taking us down a path. Let's follow you.
Oh, yeah, I need to follow up on the brack red-legged thrush, which is a subspecies of our family to the one that we have in the 1 cent. Let's put it in colloquial terms, I guess. I was asking if there was any study done on those, on like the population there, how healthy it is or how threatened it is.
Yes, Patricia Bradley, our resident ornithologist, did a study of the population. I have a note somewhere what year that was. Don't seem to see it at the moment. It's several years ago, though. Perhaps 1996 comes to mind. Yes, I see it now, 1996. But since that time, there's been no population study of the thrush that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. Though my personal observation is that they're not hard to find at all. They're, if anything, they seem to be, in my mind, more abundant in my last few visits to the brack than, say, 4 or 5 years ago, and that might be the difference between the recent passage of Paloma, because hurricanes do tend to badly affect populations of birds.
But you said helped it, you think? You said?
No, the time has passed, because Paloma, what would be 2008 or 9.
I can't remember myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this November, start of December 2008. So that's quite a few years ago. So one would expect that the population would have been impacted by that storm. But then they seem, to my mind, to be recovering fairly well.
Okay. And like I said, when I saw it, what I think is it was, I think I might even took a bad picture of it with my old phone, was at the Brack Reef Bar.
I know the bird.
Oh, yeah. I think it was actually 2 of them. And like I said, I was surprised to see it. I didn't, had no idea of it. And I was surprised to see it. And it was, I think, 2 of them. And it were, like I said, the first time I seen the habitat, it reminded me like a cross between the behavior cross between a ching-ching and a nightingale. But so what do you think like the number, the count is? Do you have a figure of that? Do you have an idea?
Not really, no. Patricia certainly, as I said, did the survey. I've seen a figure, but I think it was a typo because it seemed to be unrealistically high. Then again, it wasn't my survey, and I haven't had the opportunity to follow up on that.
Okay. All right. So you wanted to talk about that it was the Grand Cayman thrush isn't the only bird that has disappeared, endemic bird that has disappeared.
It's the only full endemic species of bird that has disappeared. But we had another bird called the Jamaican oriole, but it was a subspecies, so different from the one they actually have in Jamaica. Should just mention bird names. Often they're named for the place where they were first described scientifically. So what that really means is that it doesn't mean that locals didn't know the bird was there before, but somebody with scientific credentials came down and studied the bird and then wrote a scientific paper describing it. And describing doesn't just mean it had red legs, but a proper, thorough scientific description. And at that point, the bird becomes known to the scientific community. And so the Jamaican oriole would have been first described from Jamaica. Doesn't mean that the bird belongs in Jamaica. And in fact, just to take that a step further, our Grand Cayman parrot is a subspecies of what is officially known as the Cuban parrot. And that's the bird that I mentioned earlier, has a range including the Bahamas. And we have two different species. Everybody knows that the black parrot is a little bit different than the Grand Cayman parrot.
I would say everybody knows.
Well,
No, they do. No, they do.
They should.
Well, it's not just that they look a little different, which is it's subtle, but they behave different and they talk different. They talk a different language. And I've spent so much time in the forest in Grand Cayman, that I kind of think I know what the parrots are saying. At least I recognize the various phrases, and I'm at a loss when I hear the ones in the brack, and they tend to be a lot more secretive. They're very wary of people. Not so much in Grand Cayman.
We could say more on that. Now, Mr. Dwayne, anything you want to? What would you say you want to know about it, or is there anything you want to know about the bird?
Well, it was interesting that when you wrote this topic with me, only know of it because you know of it, but then I had to take for a second and draw, well, what was it called? And like so much that has passed, we don't seem to have the same level of deference for something, and when it's gone, we just say, well, other side, other mind. But you referenced the ching-chings earlier, and we see the disrespect for it. So those two subspecies that you shared, like the Arnold, what is it, the smooth-billed Arnie, so much that we have in birds alone here, there could be a draw.
Oh, absolutely. And until lockdown, I was doing frequent birding trips. Some people come down to the island basically to go birding, and it's the more greater variety of species you have, the better. And they're really, really keen to see birds that are range restricted, only found in the Cayman Islands. I should perhaps explain the word endemic a little bit further.
Yes.
Because it has a range of meanings. Endemic basically just means from here. But where is here? Here could be West Bay. Here could be Grand Cayman. Here could be the Cayman Islands. Here could be the Northwest Caribbean. So it can have different extents, and it's important to make that clear. But we have 13 birds on Grand Cayman that are unique to this island, and most of those are unique to Grand Cayman.
These are living.
These are living ones. So 13, and then on the sister islands, there's the red-legged thrush makes the total number of species to 14. But then there's also different subspecies of, I'm not sure I remember them off the top of my head, but I already mentioned the Greater Antillean grackle, different subspecies, parrot, different subspecies, Vitaline warblers, different subspecies. So I think they totally end up with 17 different birds.
And that's not including the extinct ones?
Not including the extinct ones.
And I can see people from the sort of the natural environment seeing the importance of it. I can see people looking at it financially and talking about, nature tourism and
I want to make a note, that's just birds, not even into the plants and some of the other insects or the
I think last year, if anything, when we had time, maybe we were, for whatever reason, forced in a sense. We were able to get outdoors more. there's a lot of sort of discoveries and new sort of acquaintances in many instances. Maybe we could take the call after the break, but when we come back, I want to ask more about that 13 or that 14 or that 17 and remind people of some of these that you probably see and don't recognize it, or you've now been inclined to go and look and say, I've never seen or heard. Get us to appreciate where we are as we laugh, but we learn. Join us after the break. We'll join that caller as well. Please stay tuned.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Had a look at those investment options yet?
Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed.
That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's back, and it's bigger than ever. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents PACE, the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. That's right, parents, kids, young and old. We want you to be a part of the movement to help bring awareness to the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Starting at the Lions Community Center on Sunday, September 19th. Registration fee is only $25 and includes a free shirt and gift bag. The more people that sign up and register, the bigger the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Sunday, September 19th at the Lions Center. Get ready to pace yourself as the Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. For additional information, please feel free to contact 938-1711 or 526-1711. Sign up today on CaymanActive.com.
For additional information, please email pace@cnw.ky.
The Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life is proudly sponsored by Dart Enterprise, Cayman Seafarers, Maples Group, Bodden Holdings, CUC, Water Authority, and Entech.
Each Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of the Business Buzz is brought to you by Optical Outlook. Visit them at their new location in Anderson Square. Telephone 746-2020. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook.
Know the risks of underage drinking and be prepared to have a conversation about them. Establishing yourself as a trustworthy source of information on alcohol will make your child more inclined to ask questions and look to you for support and guidance. For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
How would you describe Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Wha Ah Sayin?
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to the Stuart Mailer for joining us as we look at the Michael, what is it we're looking at? The Grand Cayman
Thrush started with a 1 cent. If you heard the ad, it started with a 1 cent. It's a Grand Cayman thrush that is an extinct species, one of the extinct species that I'm finding out.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we do have a call online. We'll tell you more about some of the other ones as well, all right? Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon to all your colleagues there and to all of
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you today, sir?
Birds and Cayman Brac and the Cayman Brac red-legged thrush.
Is it me or is it?
Okay,
fading?
so you just went down and so did I. Are you there, sir?
Yes, how are you hearing me? This is the unreliable cell phone. How are you hearing me?
Yeah, good now. Good.
Much better, yeah. Not as good as earlier, but much better.
Yes, speaking about the thrush, I know a lot about them. After a few days ago, I seen one, and they normally, almost every year, they would make a nest up on my tower, my lookout tower, which is across from the Barracuda Bar, the ship tracking observation tower that's been there since 1990. And almost every year, you could look for the two thrush picking up pieces of sticks, fragments, even pieces of cloth off the ground and flying up about 40 feet in air and going into a box where I used to keep my VHF radio and building a nice nest up inside there. And they would have mostly 2 eggs in the nest, and they would hatch and grow into bigger ones and then eventually fly away. But I have a lot of experience with that kind of thing. But since they got destroyed in Paloma in 2008, I'm unable to get back up to my tower anymore. The tower is there, but the staircase is not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But these around that area, the western area, across from Barracuda Bar, where I operate from, my heavy equipment garage, and they also make their nest up in the crevices or corner.
Mr. Raymond, sir, we are hearing you, but not as well. I don't know if it's the location, if it's the connection, if it's the speaker or otherwise. Is there an adjustment you could make, sir?
No, sir, it's not on the speaker now. It's just the unreliable communications. It's bad connection or something.
Sometimes that improved slightly.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So you were talking about it, but we heard you, but just wanted to make it better. So thank you for that, sir.
So you say you have a nesting pair. Is it still around after the storm?
Yes, sir. They've been around up till about 3 days ago. I seen one in the area, and they chirp like the lion sees, and when they're chirping, they'll sit up on the tower or up on a branch, and they'll have the nicest tone. There's no other bird to me that has such a nice chirping sound. Like it goes like zip. If you could record that, what a chirping sound that those thrushes really have. And back to some history, I remember growing up as a youngster, my dad would say when the thrushes are making that sound that they are preaching for log-rid eggs. And what that was now, that these thrushes used to go and get the log-rid eggs that would be out on people's lines drying for them in order to cook, and the thrush would go and eat the eggs off the line. So that was just a kind of strange thing that the old timers thought about, that when the thrush was chirping, that's what it meant. And that is the sweetest tone when they are chirping, and they will do that when they're preparing to make a nest, because I'll hear them chirping, and then a few days after you see two of them. The building of the nest, it's like, you will see almost like the mother and father. Two of them is assisting with getting sticks off the ground, pieces of cloth and all kinds of things, and going up high and building the nest. And the most common places to do that is in buildings, up on wall plates, foundations, and in square corners. They'll just make a nice big nest there, and that's where they will hatch and multiply from there. I would say, with my outings from end to end on Cayman Brack, I would say the population of that particular one is probably about 50, because I am one of the most active persons from East End to West End on Cayman Brack and through the bluff and various locations. I would say the population is probably about 50. Also, about the parrot nesting, I have found several trees in the forest that parrots has been actively nesting in. And not only the cedar tree, I have found what we call the Caymanian wild plum, or the hog plum tree, bitter plum. It would be a dead branch or part of a dead body with a hole in it, and they will go down inside there and lay their eggs inside the tree, and they will hatch inside, and the tiny ones got to grow big enough to crawl out, to come out up at the top, so the mother can bring the feed and feed them at the mouth of the hole. But until they can do that, it would be probably several weeks. She has to go down deep into the tree first, and then when they get big enough that they can actually crawl up higher and sit at the entrance of that hole, then she will bring the feed in, the fruits and things, to the edge of that hole and feed the young ones. I have actually watched that on the bluff several places in my lifetime, so I know a lot about things like that of nature on my island.
Very interesting.
All right, thanks very much for that, sir. So, Ray, you were sharing now.
I wondered if you had heard the audio that we played. Maybe we could play a little bit. We could play some of that again during the show. So it seems to me that the thrush has been in the Brack anyway, has been part of their culture or their history for a while. I mean, he's talked about. He said there's a song that he thinks that, or the father thought that was calling or waiting for, I think he said loggerhead eggs drying on the line. Is that what he was saying? Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like that's been, the thrush isn't just something recently. It's been throughout their culture in a while.
That's very interesting. And it's a very, in my mind, charismatic bird. And I think it should be perceived as a symbol of the Brack. It's special to the Cayman Brack, and it's a large bird. It's a colorful bird. It's photogenic. So I think it should be pushed. It should be on tourism material.
Maybe it'll be on the Cayman Brack coin soon. I had it as for the description. I had it as almost 11 inches long. That's
the same figure I came across.
So is that what you think Grand Cayman thrush would be?
Just about the same size. Yeah, I looked them both up, and they're in that same sort of size range.
Okay, so I'll try to get them back.
That's from the beak to the tail, the longest measuring across.
I've never actually measured a bird myself.
Okay.
But I do think that would be the full length from beak to tail.
All right. Ray?
Taking another break? Is that what we're doing?
Did you hear the voice?
I heard the voice. She said, let's take a break.
All right, well, that's the voice of Susan that you only hear if you're listening. Let's pause and take that break, though. When we come back...
It's God for us.
All right, stay tuned.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers and the motoring public of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Palmdale Avenue, Success Circle, Mevard Close, and Damascus Close. Preliminary work will begin the week of 6th September. Work will take place weekdays between 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The project will last for approximately 12 to 15 weeks. During the course of the works, traffic management measures will be in place, with signs directing the traffic flow. Motorists are encouraged to drive with caution when they are in the area to protect their safety and the safety of the Water Authority's staff. Customers in the area may experience service outages throughout the work. The authority will make every effort to give advanced notice related to outages. Customers can visit our website www.waterauthority.ky for outage notices. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
A laptop is an essential tool that facilitates teaching and learning in the new digital society. Through the One-to-One Laptop Initiative, the Ministry of Education has purchased laptops for every child enrolled in government, primary and secondary schools. Collect a laptop from your child's school today and ensure that your child is not left behind as we forge ahead with our digital education strategy. This is a message from the Ministry of Education. For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
See Wha Ah Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See Wha Ah Sayin?
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks again for your interest. And perhaps, through this discussion, even though we're looking at a bird that may have been extinct, we had the good company of Stuart Mailer and the continued diligence of the Wray bankers of the world. If I might do, as we get into the discussion, the fact that was it the 30s or was it the 60s that the bird went extinct? Don't even know that definitively. It's probably indicative of maybe a lack of respect, similar to what Mr. Miller you referenced. We're probably showing to the Ching Ching.
I would say some of that, but then population-wise, I mean, what was the population in the 30s? It wasn't a lot of scientific things, expedition. Well, locally anyway. That would be one reason I would say. Too busy trying to survive, I guess, maybe, from the mosquitoes.
I'm sure there's an element of that, but I was making the point before. It's one thing to go out and look for something and then not find it, but to conclude that it doesn't exist anymore is a difficult call to make.
Yeah.
And just because a visiting scientist who's here for a
Couple
few
of weeks,
doesn't see something doesn't mean some old-time farmer out of East End isn't familiar with where one of those birds is located.
But I think too, that sort of speaks to part of the importance when we look at this show. Are we making that sort of seem, I don't want to say a mistake. That's the word that comes to mind. You can find a better word, Mr. Miller.
Oversight.
You're going down a path that you really would be better advised finding another way to go. I would say, because we don't want to go that way. We're fighting with the blue iguana, and yes, there are successes in bringing it back, but it's a whole lot easier to keep what you have than to bring it back when it's gone or almost gone.
I wonder too, with so much, that is it that we're not listening to the right people? Maybe the people we put in position don't really have anything to offer, but we can't see that. But just because they look a certain way, sound a certain way, say a certain thing, I just curious. I mean, we got some wonderful people in this country who know a fair bit from their personal experience. If I might say to you, Mr. Miller, people who are here and have a particular interest but expertise, maybe we can learn how to draw alongside and leverage that, invite people from other places with the sense of appreciation that there's a preservation aspect, but there's also the idea of promotion through respect.
I think that's valid. As a birder, it's always shocking to me how unaware most of the world is of birds. And a humorous example of that was one day I was at the Red Bay Dock, and there was a little kid, maybe 2 or 3 years old, playing around at the bottom of a electrical pole, totally unaware there was a great big falcon on the top of the pole that was looking down at him, clearly deciding whether he could handle him as a meal. And the kid just didn't even notice the bird. But people in general don't seem to see birds.
That's because we don't look up enough.
Don't look up enough, yeah.
Sure, people, we do that a lot.
Take it for granted, I think.
Yeah. But I think too, though, but it's that, not as a metaphor, but we don't look up. We don't look back to past errors and missteps, and the need to make future endeavors to ensure there's something there.
Well, we do have experts, and they are basically calling the warnings: don't do this, don't go down this road, don't stop development, but limit development. Don't clear land before it's needed for development, that sort of thing. And a lot of that direction is come unheeded, shall we say.
Deaf ears, yeah. I thought that one point that Mr. Raymond was making there seemed a little encouraging, was that the bird seemed to have adapted to making its nest in man-made situations.
Absolutely. I think that's very, very hopeful for the thrush on the brack, that it has managed to adapt to life around humans and take advantage. I've read they make nests in gutters, for instance. And certainly our woodpeckers on Grand Cayman are pretty happy around human habitation. Sometimes maybe the humans are not so happy.
I know they like standing seams, like around about 10 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. I got one that has a circuit, includes my house.
But then is it that we maybe go back to that level of being unaware? So we see, let's just use birds, and we talk about birds, and we see the impact maybe that the bird is having on our driveway, or the noise that may be irritating us in the morning. With it appreciating that this bird is just more than that. I think this could be significant from the economic perspective of drawing people to see things, but more importantly, for the birds' survival, and relative to extinction.
Was that a question?
No, I was just thinking. We got a call, though. Let's take the call. Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Raymond. Welcome back, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I want to talk about the Cayman bright catbird. How much you know about that one?
Okay, Mr. Raymond, this is Stuart. The catbird, I describe it as you take a northern mockingbird, or nightingale if you prefer, and spray paint it grey. It is actually in the same family as the northern mockingbird, and it is a migratory bird. It's only there part of the year, as it does migrate down from North America where it breeds. So you won't see them in the all year round anyway. They tend to be there for 3 or 4 months.
Yes, sir. I have seen them on several occasions. Actually heard the sound and walk into the bushes and actually find it. That's correct. It's a smaller version like the thrush, or like the ching-ching from Grand Cayman, just about the same size of the ching-ching. And what about the rainbird, the Cayman bright rainbird? How much you know about that?
Okay, well, you always have to be careful with common names that we're talking about the same thing. But on Grand Cayman, what we call a rainbird is the English official international name, if you like, is the mangrove cuckoo. And that is a local bird. It lives and breeds year-round.
We have a few of them on Cayman bright, very few. You don't see them very often. And normally there's a chirping sound. And we always heard as youngsters about that same chirping that indicates rain is coming when the rainbird is chirping in the forest.
That is my understanding too. And when I do my tours and I hear when I tell people that's the origin of the name, but Mr. Banks here has a different explanation he shared with me earlier.
If it's the same bird, I mean, it is similar to like what we said, the nightingale, right? And the hunting, that was the only bird that I seen out hunting in the rain. So I wondered if that was maybe the origins of it also. It's the only one I've seen, like heavy rain and like the flooding and brings the insects and bugs and stuff like floating. So it made it very easy for it. But I watched it and it almost convinced me that it was a nightingale, you know, up until a certain point. You know, I observed the birds and stuff, and the common nightingale, watching him hunting with the wings and things like that, was very similar. So I wondered if that was the origins. If you had witnessed that, the bird hunting in the rain, sir?
No, every time I seen it was actually a hot sunshine that I heard it in the forest and then walked in and seen it.
Okay.
There was a group of people from Grand Cayman that I was on a tour with actually about 6 months ago, and we went on the bluff and there was one perched on a tree, and I think they got photos of it. I forgot who their names were, but it was there on the bluff, on the Stake Bay Bluff. Also, the bosun bird is a migratory bird that comes from North America or possibly Cuba that goes into a small hole into the bluff and lays its eggs. How much you know about that one?
Okay, so that one is the English international name for it is a white-tailed tropic bird. And they used to be abundant on Grand Cayman because they live in cliff faces, and they're still pretty common. I've seen a number of them on the South Side Road, from the South Side Road, also up by Peter's Cave. I'm sure you know other locations. In Grand Cayman, there are still about somewhere on the order of 16 or so still nesting in the cliffs or in the Pedro area, Pedro St. James area. And apparently they breed when the young are able to fly. They head out to sea, and actually they go south. They go, and we don't really know where they spend their time. I've heard that they may actually continuously fly. That they don't land. They don't touch land again until they return to nest on Grand Cayman or on the cliff faces on the Brac. I've also heard that in the old days, before we had all the houses and people's dogs and cats disturbing them, they used to have much wider ranging nesting sites all over the Iron Shore, not just on the cliff face, but they've kind of retreated as the threats have increased.
Mr. Raymond, thank you for that, sir. And with that, we'll just take the headline news at 2, and when we come back, well, let's continue to learn. Please stay tuned.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. A man aged 60 of West Bay has been arrested and formally charged with 2 counts of burglary. The charges relate to incidents on August 6th and August 16th, 2021, where 2 separate businesses in Georgetown were broken into and items stolen. The man appears in court today, September 17th. In international news, some 10,000 migrants have gathered under a U.S.-Mexico border bridge over recent days, leading to a growing humanitarian crisis. The bridge connects Del Rio in Texas to Mexico's Ciudad Acuña, and the temporary camp there has grown with staggering speed in recent days. The mostly Haitian migrants who have crossed the Rio Grande are sleeping under the bridge in squalid conditions. The U.S. government has been facing a surge of migrants at the border. Firefighters are wrapping fire-resistant blankets around ancient trees as blazes tear through California's world-famous Sequoia National Park. Officials fear the fire could reach the giant forest, a grove of some of the world's biggest trees, within hours. The forest hosts some 2,000 sequoias, including the 275-foot General Sherman, the biggest tree by volume on Earth and about 2,500 years old. The colony and paradise fires have been growing for a week. The father of a 7-year-old girl whose hair was cut by a teacher without parental permission is suing the school district and 2 staff members for $1 million. Jimmy Hoffmeyer's lawsuit says the constitutional rights of his mixed-race daughter have been violated. He has pulled his daughter out of the school. An investigation by the school district concluded in July that while the teacher had broken school policy, she had not acted with racial bias. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
You can now register to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the My HSA patient portal. Sign up is available at all HSA locations and at various sites throughout the community. To register, all you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and a valid email address. Visit hsa.ky and click My HSA patient portal for the sign-up schedule and more information.
The Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant is on this Saturday, September 18th at the Westin Resort and Spa. 200 current ticket holders can attend our viewing outside of the Westin Ballroom, where you can see the contestants parade in person. Otherwise, ticket refunds will be issued at the Government Admin Building the week after the pageant. Masks are mandatory for all attendees. Please email misscaymaninfo@gmail.com for refund requests, or if you are a current ticket holder who would like to attend the outside viewing. You can also view the pageant live on CIG TV, the Miss Cayman Islands Universe Instagram page, and Compass Media platforms. The entire pageant will air on the CIG television cable channel next Saturday, September 25th. Come be a part of this amazing experience as the 9 beautiful contestants grace the stage. We hope to see you there.
How would you describe Wha Ah Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Wha Ah Sayin.
And good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio with Ray Banker and our guest, Mr. Stuart Mailer, and the Grand Cayman, what you say?
Grand Cayman thrush.
Yeah?
The 1 on the 1 cent.
1 cent?
Are
5 cent?
extinct. No. Susan, can we play the audio again? The bird?
You want
Ours? Whichever one, audio.
Okay, so with the bird, and I'm hoping that in this discussion, now that's not my stomach, is it? No, okay.
Which is this one? This is the black one?
So this is somebody's recording
that's
sent
cool.
to us of the bird and the brack. Yeah, and I think this is where, as Mr. Mailer was sharing, that we become familiar with it, we can recognize. This is recognizable to you, sir?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, it's a very distinctive sound.
See, the other one was Spanish, you see.
Yeah, I was wondering. So you think this is the bird that used to be on the right-hand side of the street after the corner? Or this is a different bird?
So that is a sound that's missing.
Thank you for sending that to us.
Thanks, that's great.
Yeah.
That's been missing 80 odd years.
Yeah. Now, when we look at that, well, Ray, you want to take us through the notes, or I can ask about
go ahead,
the questions that Mr. Mailer sort of, his comments raised a couple of questions, and the fact that maybe we're not cognizant enough of the flora and the fauna that we have, but just looking at birds in and of itself, the beauty of going out with family and friends and just, despite the mosquitoes, and seeing birds maybe for the first time, or seeing them again and you haven't seen since.
Well, absolutely, and something I would say about that, I've not been a birder for very many years, only about 12 now. So I can remember when I wasn't a birder and that really didn't pay much more attention to birds than most people do.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to discover that getting interested in birds doesn't have to become an overnight weird passion. You can really treat birds like walking down the beach and beach combing. It gives you something to look out for, interesting shell or whatever. So if you start a list of the birds you see. In Cayman, we're fortunate in a way that there's ways to break it down into bite-sized chunks. I've mentioned to you earlier that in Grand Cayman, there's 13 birds that are special to Grand Cayman. That means that as a subspecies or variety, they're not found anywhere else in the world.
13.
That's not a massive list. That's enough that you could give yourself a goal of saying, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to make sure that I can recognize
the size of the island, though, for that amount of species, no?
We have a fair diversity of local birds, unfortunately not including the Grand Cayman thrush or the Jamaican oriole, which also went extinct. And again, that was a Grand Cayman subspecies, not the same bird that occurs in Jamaica, one that has evolved to be a little bit different. But then we have 13 birds that are considered unique. And at least one of those, the one that officially is called the Cuban bullfinch, has been recognized by at least one of the world's birding authorities as actually deserving full species status. That it's not universally accepted, as to my knowledge, as such yet, but there's a very good chance that one day our Grand Cayman bullfinch will be recognized as a full species.
Is that the black one?
It's black, but it has white in the wing. So very distinct from, say, a ching ching or a smooth-billed Annie, which are all black. Yeah, the bullfinch, which you won't see in West Bay, they're not found. Unfortunately, like many of our forest birds, or several of our forest birds, they're restricted to the east end of the island because of all the development of the west end of the island.
Right.
And I could list them off. I sometimes
would you? Yeah.
Well, I could try.
If you would, I mean, not a test, but
let me see. I normally try to do it by size to give myself some sort of frame of reference. Okay. I think the biggest bird that's unique is the Grand Cayman parrot. Okay. Another big bird is the Caribbean dove. That's what some Caymanians would call a white belly, and again, that bird is restricted to the east end of the island. You'd never see it.
Now, do we have some invasive ones?
Invasive birds, yes, we.
No, I mean the doves, because I've seen some different ones, and they seem to be a little bit more aggressive. And
well, we have white-winged doves. I wouldn't call them invasive.
Okay, that's what I need.
It's a gray area though, because for instance, we have a bird. Name is escaping me at the moment. Cowbird, which has been is considered by many people invasive. In the sense that it's spreading its range into new areas, and it's having a harmful effect on the existing native bird population because it's basically a brood parasite. Basically, it lays its eggs in other birds' nests. It chucks the native birds' eggs out, kills them, and then it has the unwitting native bird sit on its eggs and raise them. And so it's only causing harm to the local bird population. But then other people argue, well, it's spreading its natural range. We didn't bring it here, therefore we should leave it alone. That's actually not a position I agree with, but it's certainly a valid argument.
Okay. So we got a parrot, the Grand Cayman parrot, the Caribbean dove.
Caribbean dove, yes. So you really would need to see that, or go to the east end of that island to see that.
Maybe this weekend?
I'm very happy to report that we are now seeing them fairly frequently at the Botanic Park, when 5 years ago they were basically gone. They're very, very susceptible to predation by cats in particular, because they live on the ground. They don't fly unless they really have to. And they're sitting ducks. They're also very, very calm. They're sitting doves, and they're calm, and they don't really have any fear of people.
These are not the little, what we call the little small ground.
No, they're much bigger. They're the size of, what you might know as a
big dove.
Pea dove.
I don't know pea dove. I want to know. Well, is that a big dove?
Okay, big one. The big brown one. It's like, I know what you're talking about. The ground dove. Well, this one is about 3 times as big.
Okay.
But it's all brown. That's one officially called as a Nida dove. In Jamaica they call it a pea dove, and a lot of the names that are used in Cayman are the same as locally, commonly used in Jamaica, such as ball pate, known as...
what different accent is cling cling versus ching
ching? Ching, exactly. So going on down the list, let's see, we've got 2 species of woodpeckers here. There's one called the West Indian woodpecker, and then there's another one called a flicker, a northern flicker. How are we doing this? Is that 4?
4.
Okay. 4, there's a big flycatcher called the moving right along. There's a smaller flycatcher called the Caribbean Elenia, and then the big one is called the loggerhead kingbird. That's
is that what we call the top-knot Judas?
The one is called the top-knot Judas. That's the Caribbean Elenia, because it's got like a white patch on the top of its head, which you can see when he raises. And then the other one is called a Tom Fighter, I think, local name.
Tom, and I heard that one.
Because he's a very feisty bird, and you can walk right up to them. They really defend the territories.
Is that the ones that they actually attacked some of the big
man o' wars or frigate birds?
You see them, frigate birds. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So you see them way up in the thing.
So moving on down, we have a bird that probably the majority of the listeners won't be really familiar with unless they've been in the Mastic Reserve or the Botanic Park or live up East End, called the my memory is fading.
That's okay, Wayne. All right.
Yucatan vireo. And
what's the native? What's the
that one has an sheer bark, I think.
Never heard that one. Sheer bark.
Mm.
Okay. And then there's another one called the thick-billed vireo. Perhaps that's the sheer bark. Oh no, I know the Yucatan vireo is called a. Come to me.
Yeah.
Right. I'll move on down.
But what we can do though, since the caller is on, and we got about 7 to 8 now. Maybe just revisit the list in a second.
Yeah.
Would that help you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Stuart Miller is helping us to learn. I mean, you didn't think it was going to be a test, huh? Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Darlene.
Good afternoon.
I'm here in Northside. I see at the top not do this be right here in my trees right here in my yard, and the little small black bird with a streak of a white wing bees into my yard here, and one black one, same thing like that, with a red dot right on top of the top of his head, and they'll get out there if I got my car outside, and they'll be peeping into the mirror, looking after themselves. I say, look after that. I have my other birds everywhere I see them. I'm always looking after birds. And they're very attractive for me.
That's right.
Yes, So I said, the little ones be around my place. Yesterday, the top not do this. Right here in the street, peeping away, making his noise.
Bring you joy, huh?
Yes,
that's good.
Very attractive.
Yeah. Can we ask you a question too? The 1 cent. Did you know what bird was on that?
What bird?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what kind of birds they were. I want to see them, but I don't know what they are. And I seen one about 2 years ago, a year ago, all red, about the size of a mockingbird. But that was all red. I have never seen a bird like that yet. All red, and I think it had a little peck of black somewhere or white somewhere under his neck. That's the first I've ever seen a bird like that around here in a place. All red, a small one like a mockingbird.
Okay, so the all red bird, if it was all red, now that would be a tanager. There's two red tanagers. One has black in the wings, and that is a summer tanager. Sorry, that's a scarlet tanager, and then summer tanager. I hope I haven't got that one the wrong way around, but they're really quite uncommon. There was one hanging out at the park for several years. It's a migratory bird, so it's only here for a few weeks or months usually, and most people won't believe you when you tell them you've seen an all red bird.
Yes, wow. That's the first I ever seen one like that.
Wow.
And the other little ones, they were so pretty because they're so tiny, getting up in the mirror and looking after themselves.
And they bring a lot of joy. I mean, I see my parents.
Oh, yeah, that's very joyful when I see them out there.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that. You have a wonderful weekend too,
man.
Mom. Thanks. Bye-bye. And that's there. Hopefully, Ray, in addition to recognizing what we've lost, maybe we can appreciate what we have.
Yeah, and talking about the ones in the mirror, the car mirror, I think they're not the warblers, the yellow, bright yellow ones.
Yeah, if they're bright yellow, but we have a subspecies that occurs in Cayman that usually has sort of reddish orange streaking on the breast and also a orange patch on the crown. Often get them on the car wing mirrors. Almost every time I go up to Head of Barcas, I get one sitting on my car wing mirror, and on the entrance road to the Mastic Trail as well.
You would think by now that they would know that's them. Would have figured out. They had so many examples of it.
Yeah.
So but is a certain that's I think with the yellow ones. And don't we have talking about the warblers? I read somewhere where we got this large population of warblers. We got am I reading that wrong? Is it warblers or?
Well,
finches? What?
No, we don't have finches here, but we do have quite a number of warblers as migratory birds. We have two warblers that breed here, and that's the Viteline warbler. That's an endemic subspecies, so you could add that to the list you're keeping there.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Okay, and that's only found in the Cayman Islands and in the Swan Islands, and I've heard a report of one of the other small islands down towards South America. They've been seen there as well. The Viteline, yeah.
And is that the yellowish, brownish? There's one.
Basically yellow. They should be bright yellow, but it has black markings streaking on the side and on the neck, mostly on the
beak,
face, almost like a jowl line. So it's not totally yellow. The yellow warbler is almost completely yellow. And it's a different subspecies on the brack than on Grand Cayman.
Wow.
And we have about 95% of the world population. So if
that's what I was.
If a bird wants to see a Viteline, this is really the place he should come to, because the Swan Islands you can't really visit very easily anymore.
Swim is kind of hard.
And so they're okay. To clarify, the ones that you would find, I think territorial that are attacking your car mirror, that would be those, the Viteline?
No, that would be the yellow warbler.
Okay. And that's for us, or what's that one? That's endemic or no?
No, it's not endemic, but we have both migratory yellow warblers, and then we have resident yellow warblers. And our resident, although it's not an endemic species, it does live and breed here. And then we have other ones that migrate through, and they're a little bit different. They're different subspecies.
Okay. Sorry. Don't want to disturb your list.
No. I should have probably looked at the list and with glasses on so I could read it. But
So I remember it should have come to me right away. The Yucatan vireo, the local name for that is a Sweet Bridget, because it makes a song that sounds like it's saying "Sweet Bridget, Sweet Bridget."
Yeah, I'm not going there. So but it could be sweet.
And then our little banana quit. Everybody knows them. That's an endemic species. People don't seem to recognize how variable they are. But in Cayman, a banana quit is yellow belly, white throat. And in Jamaica, they have banana quits, but it's yellow belly, black throat. So really quite strikingly different in appearance.
Or chips.
Yeah. There's a picture of two parrots, I presume.
Yeah, the one that's yellow. What, Lucan? What is that right? Am I saying that?
Leucistic. I can't pronounce it.
Thank you.
Leucistic.
Better you than me.
So
that's why we hired you.
But it's not a albino necessarily.
It is a form of albinism, I believe. Yeah,
and that's the parrots that we found kind of a couple months ago, I think, or last year.
I think it was only one on the brack.
Okay,
it's been around.
But it's yellow basically, where it's supposed to be green.
Yeah, I have not seen that myself. I didn't see that bird, but I have seen that in the grass quits and all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not really yellow, more very, very, very pale cream colored. It's albinism, and it can happen, I think, in just about any organism.
Now, you said we don't have finches, and that's what I described as these little ground-dwelling, kind of like the seed. I don't know if they're warblers or I don't know what they are.
Well, those are probably the grass quits.
Well, okay, this one was like was violet almost. Is that migratory?
Okay, that would be a migratory bird.
And they're just in the grass?
Yes.
Okay.
Indigo bunting.
Yes. Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Quite often see those in fairly large flocks.
That's what I was going to say, it was a flock.
The guinea grass in flower, and then you'll just see them out in the fields by agriculture is what comes to mind.
Along with some, like just a brown, just a kind of a drab brown or color one.
Yes, different males and females. And the males, and if they're not mature, and they're not necessarily bright colored. They're variable.
Yeah, of those 13 and the one in the brack sort of aside, so the 13 on Grand Cayman, which ones would you say are either more threatened and perhaps special, unique to Grand Cayman, that we should be very mindful that we don't let that go the way of the Grand Cayman Trust?
Well, anyone that is basically range restricted as we were discussing earlier, is in danger from people or from hurricanes or whatever. So our range-restricted birds, I mentioned the Viteline warbler, the Caribbean dove, our parrot, and in particular, I should emphasize the black parrot has the smallest range of any Amazon parrot in the world.
Wow.
So it's on a small island.
And a small range.
Yeah, and it could... we've had a scientist who's been studying those birds for a number of years now, and populations seem to be declining. This is the black parrot, not the Grand Cayman, which seems to be relatively healthy. But sad to say, he reckons it's on a spiral towards extinction. And he mentioned 40 years, but that was about 5 years ago.
Wow.
Don't know if he's revised his opinion or not. But
so what can be done for that?
I personally think that there's going to have to be human intervention. Mr. Raymond was mentioning about they do nest in trees other than cedar trees, and yes, he's absolutely right. They do. As far as I know, they'll nest in any hollow tree. But if you had to come up with a typical tree, it would be the cedar, and those are basically just in decline. Not to mention when you have a really bad hurricane, like Paloma, the first thing to be destroyed are the old hollow trees. So,
Mr. Miller, we have a couple of WhatsApps, if we could.
Sure.
And since they said the gentleman, Ray, I'm assuming they're speaking to Mr. Miller. Okay, so by their friends. So here's a picture that was taken up on the bluff last year, and I'll just show it to you, and then the listener wanted to see if you would know. I'm trying to bring up on the screen what this bird would be. To our listeners, you won't be able to see it, but
maybe go on YouTube, you might catch a glimpse of it.
Yes, so this is a cuckoo joke we were just talking about. Just double check it, but I think we're looking at a yellow-billed cuckoo here. I can't quite make out that the whole entire bill is yellow, but the bird that Mr. Raymond was calling a rainbird is a mangrove cuckoo, and it's very similar in appearance to the yellow-billed cuckoo. It's just that the bird I'm seeing the picture of appears to be completely white on the underside, snowy white, whereas a mangrove cuckoo has like a kind of peachy blush on the belly. And as I say, I can't quite make out, but I think this bill is entirely yellow, and it would be a yellow-billed cuckoo, a migratory cuckoo.
All right.
Question, if somebody wants to see some, like most of these indigenous birds or endemic birds that you were listing out, is there a good place to go, or I'm sure you have an organization, or the bird Cayman Birders?
Well, there is a Cayman Bird Club. We also have a WhatsApp group. I can't remember what it's called, but basically it's just people, not necessarily dedicated birders, but people who just have an interesting in birds. But to answer your question about locations, the Botanic Park is the single best place to go for birds in Cayman. I typically would do a tour there take birders for a tour. I would typically expect to find at least 11 of the 13 on any one tour. And that same is true doing tours of the Mastic Trail, but the Mastic Trail, although the birds are there, it's harder birding because there's a lot of underbrush, and you can't easily run off trail to go and see a bird you hear.
Plus, you're worried about all that cliff rock.
Exactly. So because the park's got big trees and open lawns and so forth, and the birds are very approachable, so they won't just fly away. Speaking of that, just wanted to make a point, coming back to a bird we were talking about earlier, the white-crowned pigeon. Now, when I do my tours, my birding tours or naturalist tours on the Mastic Trail, I would always point out how friendly the birds are, how you could walk almost right up to them, almost touching distance, except for the white-crowned pigeon. The white-crowned pigeons you typically wouldn't even get a glimpse of. The only way you'd know is as you walk through the forest, you hear a clapping of wings and they're gone from the top of a tree and out of sight. That is the only forest bird that migrates from Cayman to other Caribbean countries We're not talking about North American migrants coming down here. We're talking about birds that live and breed here, but then fly away to Jamaica, to Cuba, to other countries where there's heavy hunting pressure. And because of that, the ones that are wary of people are the ones that survive to return, to come back to Cayman. There is hunting in Cayman, not legally of
but I have to say the ones that, because of that release program in the Turtle Farm or the Turtle Center, whatever it's being called now, they seem to be a lot tamer. Do you find that?
Right.
Yes, the ones that are bred here, in fact, it's easier to approach a bald-pate or white-crowned pigeon in South Sound than it is in the Mastic Reserve because those birds either don't migrate or haven't yet migrated to Jamaica, so they haven't weeded out the friendly ones through hunting pressure.
Yeah. So I just showed Mr. Miller a photograph from another listener with 2 parrots, I think.
Okay, I'm only seeing one parrot in the photo at the moment.
Is there one?
That's a hidden one?
Sorry.
The yellow one?
Okay.
The Lucano?
Okay, hold on.
And where was that picture taken?
The black?
I'm not sure.
That's the black one? With the 2 ones that you showed me?
The ones with the 2, yeah. So
that's
is
brack,
that.
I think.
Okay, so this is the brack.
So this is Cayman brack parrot?
And this is a Cayman brack parrot. It's just basically it's a form of albinism. So it's lost some of the pigment. And
so it's yellow instead of green.
Which brings up the point we've mentioned before that the brack parrot is different from the Grand Cayman parrot.
Anyway,
and when I saw the first picture you showed me, I was cheating a little bit because I wasn't 100% sure. But the brack parrot is visibly different. It's a little bit smaller, though you need to have them side by side. The feathers tend to be a little darker around the tips.
There's more ruffled ones.
And usually the easiest point is the white on the forehead isn't white in Grand Cayman. It's actually usually a peachy, or it has a little bit of rosy tinge, whereas the brack parrot is usually almost white or pure white.
Makes sense.
But it's easier to cheat and just ask where the picture was taken.
So that one that is in this photograph, there's one that looks yellow.
That's the one that's basically an albino parrot.
So they're both the same?
They're both the same species, yeah.
Okay. So they're just for
now,
listeners.
Do the birds treat them differently?
Well, I haven't seen this bird. I've spoken to a lady from DOE who's visited them. She didn't tell me. I honestly didn't ask, but she didn't suggest there was any, to my memory, that there was any major difference in behavior.
So do they lose their camouflage ability then with it?
It's not helpful to the bird, I don't think. Right. It's certainly going to be more likely to be predated.
To stand out,
So this, and thanks to our listeners, I mean, we really learned a lot. And this listener, took this picture, say after the hurricane, saw this, this one, these 2, and that they
thought the hurricane had frightened it to death.
The recognizable parrot was being, can I say, tormented by, we're tormenting the yellowish albino-looking one. Phrase was, we're beating the hell out of it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So to your point,
I think most of the audience would be familiar with the West Indian whistling ducks because they've become quite common around human habitations. But there is one duck that's a black-bellied whistling duck, and it looks different. It has bright pink feet and a bright pink bill, and the West Indian whistling ducks would bully it all the time.
So anything different? Go after.
And although we won't see this, right, this is another photograph sent in. This is a little black dot on the lawn, right? But it's a beautiful little black bird with a yellow belly and a red head. And when you blow up the picture, you can see it, But it's amazing how...
Is that a bunting?
So what would that bird be?
Can I see the picture?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to. If you can. So and we really appreciate our listeners sharing. We recognize the time, but this is hopefully going to intrigue more of us, perhaps get us more vested in that, as Mr. Miller shared. Small space, but we have so much species, so much diversity, flora and fauna, right?
I'm tempted to ask, is there a bird in this picture? It's
there is
a bit far away. Could you give me the description again? Because I'm not getting much for the photo.
Hold on. Let me... we'll rely on my memory to do that. And let me read what it says. This is a beautiful little black bird with a yellow belly and red head. Sound like that girl really that you were talking to.
Shut up. fool.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm hoping that people will start now with their children, with their new and established acquaintances, go out and enjoy Cayman.
And before you leave, Mr. Miller, make sure you give contact details and stuff. You said I wouldn't mind seeing that WhatsApp group if you can get that later.
Yep,
later on. No pressure.
And then the eBird is a reference. So that's in addition to the
that's the site, the eBird site.
Yeah, and in addition to going, to the Botanic Park, which I think is just another valuable resource that we sufficiently don't access. Mm-hmm. You saw 11 of the 13 birds.
That's what I expect to see. I'd be disappointed if I didn't see at least 11 of 13, and I've seen 13 of 13 both doing tours of the Mastic and at the park on just a 2-hour tour.
Wow. And again, so much that I think when I say we, the collective we've been here for a long time. We may have only been here for 10 years, or we have only come back, since this whole thing transpired in the last year and a half. But so much is on offer on our doorstep. Resources and expertise like you, Mr. Miller, and others. If she would allow me to say, the young lady from Northside that called just now, the joy that bird in her front yard, her backyard brings to her. We see it in our parents. They buy particular seed because they know that would be what the birds would favor, and just attract that wildlife into their yards. It's amazing.
And the birds are sort of an indicator species.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they are there and they're diverse is signs that you've got a healthy environment. And it might be worth mentioning that I think many people have heard of the RSPB, the Royal Society of Protection of Birds. Mm-hmm. They changed their mandate a few years ago from only being interested in protecting birds to protecting the habitat, basically going out and purchasing and protecting the forest, because you protect the forest, you protect the birds, and you protect everything else, and that's really what we need to be doing.
Yeah. And I don't say this because I don't necessarily want to promote the financial aspect, but if that's what you're looking at, this can be monetized. Mr. Miller reminded us that we want to see certain things, this is the only place to come. You want a high probability of seeing something that may be elsewhere, this is where you come. But it's more than that. So thank you for accepting the invitation to join us.
Well, thank you. It'd be my pleasure.
Thanks.
Ray, I can't say it enough, man. You do a lot. And
you could say it more. You could say financially, you could monetize that.
Miss Norma, period, money, mom. But Ray, thanks, man. Thanks for everything. And I'll see you for the next show. We go get lunch today. So
yes.
Miss Susan, thank you too. I know we give you a warm time, but the days without us.
Dwayne gives you a warm time.
All right. And there's a press briefing, 3 p.m., we're told. So stay tuned to Radio Cayman. If you got a special request for a song, WhatsApp it or call Susan and she'll share with you. 3 o'clock, be informed of what the government is going to offer.
Can we leave her Mr. Mailer's contacts also?
Yeah. If you want, sir. If people want to reach you and talk about birds, 2 more seconds. Yeah, Mr. Miller.
Oh, so you want me to?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, to reach me, you've got my name, Stuart, Stuart. My middle initial R, and my last name Mailer, M as in mother, AILER, and that's at gmail.com.
All right. I'll reach him. If you can't find him, call Ray. His number is 949. What's the number of the museum? But seriously, thank you very much. I've learned a lot. I've been intrigued now to go out and, take the photos, be the photo man carrying bag kind of fellow.
At least sort of notice some of the birds and stuff. I mean, like I said, the doves, you see these doves all the time. We call just big doves. I've started noticing now, like the ring around their neck and things like that.
So different ones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Join me come in the morning and come back for talk today after the media news. But stay tuned. There's a press briefing coming up in about 20 minutes. Until then, be blessed.
See what I saying?
See what I saying?
See what I saying? It happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
Jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman. A language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See what I'm saying?
Shaken yet standing firm.